here's a player we haven't heard a lot from in quite a bit of time. Kale Flurry. Remember that guy? Remember him? Was he on the taxi squad now? He played a handful of games last season. He's a young defenseman who could use some playing time. Should the Montreal Canadiens consider activating him and playing him for a game or two?
That's not going to happen. Salary cap reasons. It wouldn't be fair, I think, right now. He's only played a few games at the Laval Rocket to throw him into an NHL game. Remember Victor Mete? Who was that guy?
Yeah.
It shows you that the depth the Canadians have now that they never had before, and the arrival of Alexander Romanov bumped a lot of guys down on the depth chart. So, the Canadians have lots of depth on defense. I'm waiting for Victor Mete's agent to make another trade demand pretty soon since he hasn't played for a while. But yeah, for Kale Flurry, I don't think he's going to get to play this year unless there's like a string of injuries on the blue line.
Yeah, I think you're right, Stu. I think he's there in the event of injury, and like you said, Mete is still kind of in the mix. Whether or not any of these guys are going to see anything down the stretch here, obviously remains to be seen, and it will be determined by injury, which can pop up at any time. But it's really tough at any position to be sitting and practicing and watching, and then when you get the call to step in and bring your best game on real short notice, if you will, and I don't see this changes happening unless they run into some injury problems, which is basically why they have them around.
And that's the uniqueness of this season. You have to kind of think long term, having a guy like Kale Flurry there in case of emergency if they have a lot of injuries. But it's when you look at the depth chart that he's not the next guy to be called up, and it's not kind of the time where you will just say, you know what, this guy has been good, let's give him a carrot and have him come up and play a few games. It's not how it works this year, and I don't necessarily think we'll see him in a Habs uniform.
And Mark Bergevin likes to say you can never have too many defensemen, which is true. It's remarkable, 20-odd games into the season, not one injury to a Canadiens defenseman. That's, knock on wood, they've been very fortunate at this point. But, this season, as you mentioned, Jess, it's going to slow the development, not only the Canadiens, every team in the NHL is going to go through this. You have a guy like Kale Flurry, I don't know how many games the Rocket are going to end up playing this year, but it's almost like a wasted season development-wise for so many guys. So, as I said, I just don't think it's fair to throw a guy into an NHL situation right now when he's only played a handful of games in the AHL. I think you're setting him up to fail, and you don't want to do that with a young player, especially not a young defenseman.
And I think it's really important that people understand that, defensive partners want to develop some chemistry. They don't want to necessarily be bouncing around with different guys and, experimenting, if you will, at this time with certain combinations. So they're judging by what we've seen, they're quite set and happy with the combinations and, letting these guys develop in, every situation that they can, and keeping the pairings together unless something, completely blows up. But we will see, how this goes. But anyways, they're doing a good job with what they have back on the blue line, and it's going to be a huge part, obviously, of their success down the stretch.
Yeah, following up on that, Rick, I think the Canadiens made a mistake when they responded to Mete's agent and put him in the lineup there for a few games and broke up Kulak and Romanov. I think it disrupted their chemistry. I think it disrupted their confidence. And now that they've played together a string of games, quite a few string of games in a row, they seem to have that back. So I don't think disrupting the defensive partners. I think that was a mistake. But now we're seeing Kulak and Romanov play much better together. And they're two guys. Romanov seems so confident. I don't really worry. I don't know enough about him yet to know how his confidence level might be affected. It didn't seem to be affected by being made a healthy scratch. But Brett Kulak has spoken openly in the past about how he can get down on himself when he loses confidence and it becomes harder, and he's trying not to make a mistake instead of playing a solid game. So another reason why I wouldn't tinker with the defense and try and get Kale Flurry in there.
Well, what do you guys think? Should Kale Flurry get a game or two or a carrot, as Jess just described? That was actually a really good analogy. That was pretty good. Visit hockeyinsideout.com to check out our full episode and join the discussion in the comments section below.